pilot who tried to downplane while on mushrooms thought he could wake up from a bad trip by crashing aircraft. Zach, do you remember keeping up with this story?
I heard about it through, my conspiracy friends.
Oh, okay. The off-duty pilot who allegedly tried to take down, he's charged with 80 plus counts of attempted murder. Okay. The off-duty pilot who allegedly tried to down a max capacity plane has opened up about the bizarre incident, claiming he thought he would snap out of a mushroom trip-induced delusional state if the flight crashed. This is why you don't do drugs, kids. I cannot stand the influx of Christians who are dealing and dabbling with psychedelics because they think that it could open up your third eye or help you hear from God, okay?
It gets worse.
Stop fooling with this stuff, okay? This man said, I thought it would stop both engines. The plane would start to head towards a crash, and I would wake up. Joseph Emerson told the New York Times. People were spooked out. This is right after October 7th. We thought that this could have been a
sleeper cell.
A sleeper cell. In an interview from county jail in Portland, where he's being held on 83 counts of attempted deletion of humans.
And it's bad if you're getting arrested in Portland. You got into some real trouble.
They're pretty lawless in Portland.
Yeah, they're drug friendly.
The lifelong pilot claims he was experiencing a days-long mental breakdown and paranoia spiral that left him wondering whether what he was experiencing was real or simply a dream when he carried out the October 27th act. Emerson's crack up started 2 days earlier when he took magic mushrooms with friends during a weekend getaway to reminisce on the life of one of their late friends. All of this sounds like a terrible idea. I'm going to get with friends. I'm going to do a mushroom getaway, and I'm going to reminisce about a friend that died.
Yeah.
The friend's 2018 death had plunged Emerson into a deep grief that left therapists encouraging him to seek medical treatment for depression, which he steered clear out of fear. Virgin America's strict guidelines against such prescriptions would ground him from flying. So this dude was already dealing with grief and despair. He didn't want to seek professional treatment for it.
Mm-hmm.
And because he didn't want to seek professional treatment for it, he thought it would be a good idea to self-medicate. And in himself, because he didn't want to get caught up in his job, and in him self-medicating, he made the entire situation substantially worse. Instead, he chose to self-medicate and try the hallucinogenic for the first time, which only kickstarted a week-long episode. Emerson,
a week-long, bro?
A week-long episode.
That is insane.
Craziness. A week-long episode. Emerson began feeling a deep unease and a sense his friends were teasing him and potentially plotting to hurt him. I felt fearful of them, he said, adding that he also started to have this feeling that this wasn't real. I thought of a lot of traumatic things in that time where I was like, am I dead? Is this hell? I'm reliving that trauma.
This is when it gets actually really sad.
This is awful, man. This is awful. Emerson made this way to the airport where his sense that he was in purgatory only grew stronger. He felt that nothing made sense, such as the directions his GPS gave him and the way the flight attendants boarded the plane. He texted a friend stating that he believed he was having a panic attack. Pilots noted he seemed to grow increasingly agitated during the hours-long flight from Washington to Oregon. Okay, so he was going south until he finally snapped. I'm not okay, Emerson said before scrambling to activate the jet's 2 fire suppression handles mid-flight while he was sitting in the cockpit, designed to cut the fuel supply and shut down both engines. This is horrifying. All right, keep going. The pilots snatched his wrist and wrestled him away from the controls, with Emerson ultimately asking a flight attendant to restrain him?
Yeah.
Oh, he asked the flight attendant himself?
Yeah.
To restrain him until the pilots could make an emergency landing. You need to cuff me right now or it's going to be bad, he said, according to a police officer who interviewed the flight crew.
Now, could this be demons?
Darkness.
I definitely think thinking about dead people, not dealing with your trauma and your despair and your grief properly, and then attempting to self-medicate with magic mushrooms is a recipe for disaster and probably opening up some sort of demonic portal.
Yeah.
You are playing with fire.
I mean, even just how he describes this, it's like, think about it. It's like he wanted to plummet down. He thought he was in hell.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was in a purgatory. Mm-hmm. He thought it wasn't real. Mm-hmm. He wanted to plummet down 83 people into the ground. And he admits to the flight attendant that he's feeling not in control of his own body.
Yeah.
Darkness.
Yeah.
You need to come here right now. Emerson continued acting erratically and chugged coffee straight from the pot until an attendant stopped him. So this man was...
That's awfully hot coffee pot.
He asked the staff whether things were real or if he was in a nightmare and tried reaching for the emergency door, thinking that if he jumped, he would wake up. This man was trying to jump out of the airplane, bro.
Look at this man.
This is so sad. I'm having a mental breakdown and tried to turn off both engines on my flight, he wrote in a text to friends, writing to his wife. Now, the reason he was able to get on his flight is it's common for pilots to hop on a flight and get a flight next to wherever they're going. So it's not uncommon for this. And a lot of times they'll let the pilot sit up front. That's how it was going. So he wasn't
piloting the plane.
He wasn't piloting the plane. He hopped on a flight to get to his next city because they'll do that within the airlines.
And how did they let him in? Because I was like, oh, it's Steve.
A pilot. Yeah,
What's his name?
Yeah, it's Emerson.
Joseph.
Yeah. Emerson was arrested upon the emergency landing, but continued asking whether his conversation with the officers were real. If this is real and all of that was real, then I have done something to me that is unfathomable. Inside the airport detention room, Emerson stripped naked, tried to jump out a window, urinated on himself, and masturbated, all in hopes he would be jolted awake.
Dude, and he's threw away. Oh, that's so sad. That's a sad picture.
Are those his kids?
Yeah. Bro.
Oh.
Now doesn't make
Emerson also tried to open it. Is that really his kids, bro?
Yeah, bro.
Oh my gosh, man.
And that was his wife earlier.
He repeatedly asked his wife over the phone, "Is this real?" and would break out into song mid-conversation. It was not until 5 days after consuming the mushrooms that Emerson was whipped back to reality. I'm horrified. This is the thing, man. Guys, these drugs you're dabbling with, these aren't regulated. You don't know how much you're consuming. So you could take it. You could take these magic mushrooms thinking you're healing yourself or thinking you're getting closer to Jesus, and it could be a couple hours. It could be a couple days. It could be a dark couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened here. I'm horrified that those actions put myself at risk and others at risk, he said. That crew got dealt a situation there's no manual, checklist, or procedure that's been written for, and they did an exemplary job. It's crazy. He's still talking like a pilot here.
Yep.
Keeping me and the rest of the people on that plane safe. Emerson is being held without bail on the state charges, one for each of the lives that were on the plane during the psychotic break. Oh, man.
Well, I think, yeah. I don't know. I would assume that the lawyers are also like, hey, if you can communicate to journalists that you are like sober minded now and you are just like a regular pilot and all that stuff, it's a better look to be like, oh, I was high for days. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's like the opposite of an insanity charge.
Yeah, I've been in a situation where after knee surgery, I didn't want to take. I've shared a story before, but I didn't want to take opioids, and so I took edibles, cannabis edibles, which were regulated, meaning I had a prescription, not a prescription. I had a what's that called? A card, and went through a doctor. Medicinal card.
Yeah.
Went through a doctor. I knew how much I was consuming, and I was taking a red-eye flight from San Diego to Boston, and I would usually consume about 5 milligrams, which would be enough to like relieve the pain, but I was still like fine.
I remember this.
Yeah, and I ended up freaking out on a red eye because I was trying to go to sleep, and I took like 4 instead of 1, thinking it knocked me out, and it did the opposite, and I was horrified. I really, because the scary part is, I wasn't at that place where is this real or not. The scary part was, is this permanent? You know,
that's scary.
I thought it was permanent, and that was a trip.
We see, according to the Bible, that prayer is extremely important in terms of us being transformed from the inside out when we get aligned with God's will. For the Christians watching this channel, I want you guys to implement these spiritual disciplines in your day-to-day life. And the only way I've been able to do this consistently is through writing down my prayers in a prayer journal that does a few things. One, it allows me to reflect and come to God humbly and ask Him to move on my behalf. And 2, it allows me to document my prayers, which ultimately help me remember the very things that I was praying for and see the hand of God tangibly in my life when He answers them. So I would urge you, consider writing down your prayers. It could be in a blank notebook. It could even be on your phone. Or you could check out the one I personally designed and used from my own quiet time and spiritual discipline that I think will be a huge blessing. It's the exact structure and system that I've used for years to pray and be more consistent in my spiritual disciplines. You can pick yours up today by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.